I want to now give you some practical examples of resizing without resampling and also resizing with resampling. So let's dig into it here. And hopefully, again, as we work our way along, what we've already discussed will become more clear for you. So as you can see, I've closed out of the image size dialog box. I closed out of my cartoon robot. I'm going to go after another work file that we have. Go ahead and pop into your open dialog box, and inside your work files folder, you'll find an image called resizing.jpg. Go ahead and pop this guy open. Now, this is a photo that I took on my digital camera. We were out for a drive up in cottage country in northern Ontario. If you've ever been there, you know that it's basically rocks, trees, lakes, and windy roads. So I thought this was kind of a cool photograph with the road kind of curving away off into the distance. Now, I shot this on my 5-megapixel camera. And of course, as I had mentioned way back when, as soon as I get an image into Photoshop, the first thing that I want to do is I want to see what I'm working with. So I want to get into my image size dialog box. Now, do you remember the keyboard shortcut for getting into the image size dialog box? It's Command Option I or Control Alt I over on the Windows side. Okay, so here's what we have inside the image size dialog box. We have a 14.1 meg file. He's 2,560 pixels in width by 1,920 pixels in height. He is a whopping 35.5 inches in width by 26.5 inches in height, which is fantastic for the wall mural that I'm going to be creating with this thing. And there's the resolution, a paltry 72 pixels per inch. So right off the bat, you might go, oh, we have a low-res image. Well, no, not quite, because I certainly don't need 35.5 by 26.5 inches. I mean, there's just a massive amount of image information here, even though you might go, write it off as a low-quality image. Don't write it off as a low-quality image because it isn't, okay? Now, as a point of interest, if you want to grab a calculator and multiply 2,560 by 1,920, the number that you'll get is 4.9 million. In other words, 5 megapixels. That's what megapixels means, in case you've ever wondered. So we're capturing pixels. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off resample image because we're going to resize without resampling. And as I had mentioned not too long ago, if you can, try and resize your images without resampling. In other words, without asking Photoshop to make stuff up. We really don't want Photoshop to make stuff up on its own if we can help it. Don't forget, when resampling is turned off, I can only impact the width and height and the resolution of the file. The pixel dimensions remain fixed or static. I am not changing the pixel quality, which means I'm not changing the pixel count inside the image, which means I'm not impacting the quality of the image. So this 72 pixels per inch as well, I want to remind you of this. What this means is that 72 pixels will be printed for every 1 inch of paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my resolution from 72 and I'm going to drop it down to just 10 pixels per inch. Okay, if you're following me along, go ahead and do the same. Now notice that the dimensions of the file, the physical dimensions, are through the roof. 256 inches by 192 inches, which is perfect for the wrapping paper that I'm going to wrap my entire house in, right? This is insane. So what this means is that 10 pixels out of our 2,560 pixel width and 10 pixels out of our 1,920 pixel height would be printed for every 1 inch of paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my resolution, and let's say, for instance, I'm going to use this photograph in a print brochure, or, you know, maybe I'm going to create some postcards or something like this. So it's got to be much higher quality, much higher resolution. But again, I'm not changing the quality because I'm not changing the pixel count. What I'm going to do instead is change the resolution all the way up to 300 pixels per inch. Now again, someone might pop into the dialog box and go, oh, 300 pixels per inch, that's a high quality image. Well, again, it isn't, because don't forget the pixel dimensions haven't changed. But the document size has changed. Again, it's that teeter-totter, that seesaw effect. So now, instead of being, what was it, 256 inches in width or whatever it was, now it's 8.5 by 6.5. But it's still 2560 by 1920 in terms of pixels. So now what I'm saying is I want you to print 300 pixels out of the 250 pixel width and 300 pixels out of the 1920 pixel height for every 1 inch of paper. So in other words, we're going to get a much higher quality image, but that image is going to be a lot smaller in terms of the physical dimensions. Okay? I hope this is starting to lock in here. I hope it's starting to make sense. Remember, an inch is a fixed unit of measurement, but to fit 10 pixels into an inch, or to fit 300 pixels into an inch, means that the size of the pixels has to change. If you have too few pixels in an inch, the pixels will be larger, resulting in a pixelated image. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So then I come along, I set up my changes here. Maybe this is going to be something that I'm going to wind up printing on my printer at home, and I'm going to put it into a frame and hang it on the wall. So I come in here and I set it all up, and I simply click on OK, and Photoshop goes to work. Now notice that nothing changed inside Photoshop in terms of the zoom level or anything like this, because I didn't change the quality of the image. The quality of the image is still the same. As a matter of fact, I can save this image now and safely know that I haven't done any destructive change to the image, because I haven't changed the image's quality, because I didn't ask Photoshop to make something out of nothing.